In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 exercises that you need to be able to rebuild your wrists from any level and to get completely pain-free. I'm going to walk you through the framework behind why these exercises are set up the way they are, walk through how to do the exercises themselves, and then what this looks like long-term with progression, and how you ultimately use that to get pain-free. The reason that these exercises work is because of the framework behind it. Here are the core principles that you need to understand that are the foundation both for this framework and then for the exercises as well. The first thing that you need to understand is why your pain is there. Pain and injury occur when the demands of a particular activity exceed the body's ability to handle it. So in this case, if you had a specific injury that created your wrist pain, or you have some lingering wrist problems, both of those tie back to that ultimate purpose. If you injured yourself in the past, that was because the demand of that activity was too much for your wrists to handle. And if you still have continued problems, that means that your wrists are currently not able to handle the demands of life as they should. Whether that's picking up heavy objects or throwing or whatever other activities it may be that cause problems for you. So with that in mind, the way that we remove pain is that we increase ability until it matches and exceeds the demand of life. So that's the first idea to understand. The other idea with that we need to understand is that the ability of a joint is not just one thing. The way that we define the ability of a joint is by breaking it down into the movements that it's capable of. So the wrist doesn't just do one thing. It has a group of specific movements that it's capable of. And so to master the ability of the wrist as a whole, we need to master the ability of each of those individual movements at the wrist. And when we understand that we're trying to improve the ability of each of those movements, then the exercises that we choose become clear, because each of those exercises is designed to specifically improve the ability of one of those movements. So these 5 exercises that I'm about to show you are going to be tied to the 6 movements that the wrist is involved in. And the reason that there's 5 and not 6 is that one of the exercises combines 2 of the movements. So that doesn't mean that these exercises are magical, but it just means that the reason that the system works is because you're covering everything that the wrist has to do. 95% of the exercises that you're going to find online about the wrists are going to be some form or variation or combination of these movements. Because in reality, whether it's a physical therapist or a doctor or whoever else is telling you to do these exercises, ultimately they fall into one of these categories. And these exercises are designed to move you through a range of motion with a measurable load. That way you can scale the exercise to the exact ability that you're currently able to do, and then over time you can progressively increase that load and increase that range of motion so that you can improve your body's ability to handle the demands of life. So in theory, there's a certain load and range of motion that if you were able to handle that for each movement, then that would mean that you would be functionally pain-free in the activities that you do. And so what you'll find is if you're in pain, then there's going to be a significant limitation in one, multiple, or all of these movements. And that's all you have to do. You just have to work on these exercises to improve each of these specific movements over time. And eventually you'll reach a threshold where the wrists have a certain amount of ability that it can handle what life throws at it. One thing that I want to note before you hop into the demonstrations for all these exercises is that for the flexion, extension, and deviation, there are actually 2 move positions for each of the movements. I call them lengthened and neutral. And the reason for that is the wrist covers a pretty large range of motion, and we want to make sure that there is real load throughout that entire range. So you'll see for each of those exercises that I just explained, you'll have one position that's covering a certain range of motion, and then another position that covers the other range of motion. So when you combine those 2 together, you're covering the whole range. That's just an extra piece that makes these exercises more effective. If you had to pick one, you could pick one and work with that. But I would highly recommend working with both, either doing both during the same set or splitting them up and alternating, doing the lengthened for one set and then the neutral for the next one. First, we're going to cover our wrist flexion exercises. So for our grip, we're going to put our palm against the outside of this dumbbell, holding it like this. We're going to start with our forearm parallel to the ground, holding the weight up like this and controlling this dumbbell on the way down, pulling up like this. So we're loading this flexion. And then for our second variation, we do the same thing, but just with our arm pointing down at the ground. So it's the same movement, but for one of them, this position is hard here, not hard here. And then this position is hard here, not hard here. For wrist extension, the grip that we're going to take is we are going to split our index and middle finger, and we're going to put that right between the dumbbell handle like this. We're going to grip the dumbbell just like that. And for our lengthened position, I'm going to prop my forearm up about 45 degrees. You can hold on to your forearm for stability, and then controlling this on the way down, pulling the weight up just like this. And then for our other variation, now we're going to go with forearm parallel to the ground. So this position is hardest when the wrist is neutral. This one is hardest when the wrist is flexed. For our radial deviation, or pulling our wrist this way, thumb towards me, I'm going to start by holding the dumbbell like this, as if I were holding out a frying pan out in front of me. I'm going to put my forearm slightly above, parallel to the ground. I'm going to let that weight drop into a full stretch, and then I'm pulling that weight up to vertical like this. And then for our other variation, we can just slightly adjust the grip so that we're holding it completely gripping it like this, putting our arm down towards the ground, and just trying to pull that weight up to the side, just like that. For our ulnar deviation, or pulling pinky side, I'm going to first grip the dumbbell handle in between my fourth and fifth finger like this. And I'm going to bring my arm up like this so that this outside of my wrist is pointing up to the sky. You can hold on to your wrist for stability, or you can prop yourself down, whatever feels comfortable. And then from here, I'm pulling the weight up to vertical like this. And then for the other position, we're going to switch to that grip like we did for the other one, but just on the opposite side of the dumbbell. Same idea, forearm pointed straight down, and we're pulling that weight up to the side. All right, and for covering pronation and supination, I'm going to use a broomstick here. And the way that this is going to work is I'm going to hold the broom in a position like this with my elbow by my side, and I'm going to be rotating this broom both directions like this, controlling it on the way down. So we're covering both pronation and supination in one movement. And the way that we can progress this is by changing our hand position. So the farther out to one side, the more offset it's going to be. So the more load it's going to be using, keeping it controlled just like that. So with that, I want to go ahead and show you the exercises. I'm going to walk you through what you need, how you're going to do them, and how to progress them. And then we will talk about what to do from there. So you've just walked through each of those exercises. So all that you need is a light set of dumbbells. You should probably never need more than a 10-pound dumbbell. So if you have 1-pound dumbbells, 3 pounds, 5 pounds, all of those are going to be helpful. And from there, you pick a weight and a range of motion that you can do pain-free and start there. Get in sets for each of those movements in both positions, both the lengthen and the neutral position like you saw in the previous video demonstrations. And it's really as simple as that. There's no gimmicks, there's no tricks, there's no special sauce. It's just you're going to improve the ability of each of those movements over time. And from there, that's how you're going to get pain-free.